death. Count 2, operating license suspended, revoked, denied, cause of death. Count 3, operating while intoxicated. Third offense notice. Count 4, temporary registration plate violations. Appearances for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jaron Anderson on behalf of the people, PA 5434.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, and good afternoon to your staff. Alana Alford, P number 87128, on behalf of Mr. Renell Batchelor, who stands to my left. Mr. Batchelor, could you please state your first and last name?
Renell Batchelor.
There's a date time set for preliminary examination. Are we ready to proceed?
People are ready, Your Honor.
How many witnesses?
We anticipate 4 witnesses, Your Honor.
You have any preliminary matters before you call witnesses?
I do, Your Honor. Your Honor, at this time I have the medical examiner's report as well as a certified driving
You
record.
may be seated.
I would move for the admission into evidence of the medical examiner's report pursuant to statute, as well as the certified driving record. Those would be People's Proposed Exhibit 1 for the medical examiner's report, People's Proposed Exhibit 2 for the certified driving record.
No objection to this, Your Honor.
Admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I read into evidence the relevant portions of the exhibits?
Yes.
For the People's Exhibit 1, the medical examiner's report. The report is authored by a Dr. Omar Reyes, O-M-A-R, last name Reyes, R-A-Y-E-S, an assistant medical examiner. Under the examination was completed on June 15th, 2021 on a Robert Lever, R-O-B-E-R-T, last name L-E-V-E-R, at the Wayne County Medical Examiner's Office. Under the summary and opinion section indicates that it is my opinion that the death was caused by multiple injuries. The examination showed abrasions on the head, chest, right buttock, shoulders, right arm, bilateral forearms, and right thigh. With respect to People's Exhibit 2, the certified driving record, the name of the individual is indicated as a Ronell Arif Batchelor, R-O-N-E-L-L, middle name A-R-I-F, last name Batchelor, B-A-T-C-H-E-L-O-R, date of birth 7/15/1985. Under the credential section in standings, it indicates that the license status is revoked. And with that, Your Honor, I have no further preliminary matters.
All right, call your witness.
Your Honor, people would call Officer Branch.
Sir, please step forward and give your name and spelling to the court reporter. Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat in the witness box. And when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon,
Can you tell us your name again, sir?
Joshua Branch.
And Mr. Branch, are you currently employed?
I am
Who are you employed by?
Tiggio Township,
And can you spell the city name, please?
Township, P-I-T-T-S-F-I-E-L-D.
And in what capacity are you employed by them?
I'm a police officer
And how long have you been with the Pittsfield Police Department?
since August of 2022.
Were you employed in that same capacity with that same department on June 14th of 2021?
No,
Who were you employed by on that date?
the Detroit Police Department,
And how long were you with the Detroit Police Department?
from January 2019 to August.
Now, on that June 14th of 2021, while employed for the Detroit Police Department, were you working on that date?
I was
Were you by yourself or with a partner?
with a partner.
Do you recall your partner's name?
The last name is July, I'm not sure the first name.
Okay, can you spell that last name to the best of your ability?
J-A-W-A-E, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, were you in full or modified uniform?
Full uniform class B,
And were you on foot patrol or in a scout car?
road patrol, fully marked patrol vehicle.
And did your duties on that day take you at or near the location of Joy Road in Greenfield in the city of Detroit, County of Wayne, state of Michigan?
Yes,
Why did you go to that location?
I was dispatched to an auto accident with injuries.
And did you make it to that location, sir?
I did.
And when you made it to that location, can you tell us what you observed?
Yes, I observed paramedics and fire on the scene, loading someone onto a stretcher.
Were you ever able to obtain the name of that individual?
I was from a family member, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, what was the name of that individual?
I'd have to look at my report.
Would looking at your report refresh your memory, sir?
Yes.
May I approach you, Mr. John?
You may.
I'm showing defense counsel now. Just briefly, sir, can you identify for the record what it is that I've handed you?
You handed me a police report that appears I've written on that.
Okay, so you authored that report?
I did.
Okay, so what I'm gonna ask you to do is read the report. Once your memory's refreshed, just flip that paper upside down. Okay, so I see that you flipped the paper upside down after having reviewed your report. Is your memory now refreshed?
Yes.
And sir, now do you recall the name of the individual that you spoke, or that was the name of the victim, I'm sorry?
Yes. The last name is Lever.
And the first name, sir? Withdrawn. Were you able to locate any other individuals that were involved in this accident?
Yes, I believe it's Ronell Bachelor, if I'm not mistaken,
Okay.
as well as the David Flag.
And the individual that you indicated was a run-out bachelor, how was he involved in this accident, to your knowledge?
He was a driver of the vehicle.
And did you make contact with that individual?
I did.
Did Mr. Bachelor provide you with a driver's license?
No, we did not have an indication on that.
Did you speak with that individual, Mr. Bachelor, about the accident itself?
I did.
And did he indicate what his involvement was?
Yes, he indicated that Mr. Lever had walked into the roadway while he was driving. From his vehicle.
And in your conversation with Mr. Bachelor, did you have any suspicion that he may be under the influence of alcohol or any sort of controlled substance?
Yes,
Did you perform any field sobriety tests?
I offered, but it was denied.
And who denied those, the offer for field sobriety tests?
Mr. Bachelor.
Now, when you arrived on the scene, was there any other units there, or were you the first on scene?
I was the first on the scene, and other units arrived shortly.
Okay. Do you recall the name of some of the individuals that had arrived after?
Not off the top of my head.
Did you request additional units at the scene?
There were multiple units dispatched to the scene.
I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examine.
Good afternoon, officer. So you responded to this scene, correct?
I did.
But you did not witness a collision at any time.
I did not witness it.
When you arrived, Mr. Batchelor was not behind the wheel of the car, correct?
He was outside the vehicle.
But he was not behind the wheel of the car.
Correct.
He was not operating the vehicle. So on direct, you stated that you spoke with Mr. Batchelor, right?
Yes.
And you approached him, correct? And another officer was already standing there with Mr. Batchelor.
Correct.
And the other officer asked, were you driving? Is that yes?
I don't know exactly what he asked him.
Would reviewing your body worn camera from that night refresh your recollection? Join us. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Officer, this is your body worn camera. This appears to be your name. This appears to be from the night in question. Doesn't appear to be altered or changed. I'm going to play this starting at 5:42 for the record. That will play relevant. And stopping at 5:50. Has your memory been refreshed, officer? So the question was to Mr. Batchelor, were you driving?
Right.
And then in response, Mr. Batchelor said,
Objection as to hearsay.
I'll move on, Your Honor. So let's talk about the circumstances surrounding this conversation with Mr. Batchelor.
Okay.
So when you arrived, you said you were the first officer on scene, but there was clearly another officer on scene.
Same patrol.
Yes. Other officers came very quickly after. Would you say this was a heavy police presence?
In comparison to the other ones that I remember from Detroit,
Traffic was blocked off though.
yes.
So you approached Mr. Batchelor, correct? After interviewing an alleged eyewitness.
Correct.
At this point, you were conducting an investigation, correct?
Correct.
So when you approached Mr. Batchelor, you were armed, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and the other officer, your partner, was armed too.
Correct.
So it's fair to say that Mr. Batchelor was not free to leave the scene when you were speaking with him, correct? You had not read Mr. Batchelor his Miranda rights at this point.
That's correct.
So you spoke to Mr. Batchelor again on scene a few minutes later, correct? Would viewing your body worn camera footage from that evening refresh your recollection?
Yeah.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Officer, this appears to be the same clip, correct? not changed or altered in any way. So I'm playing from 30 minutes, 18 seconds. I'm going to rewind just because the connection was bad on that one. So starting the video at 26 minutes, 34 seconds. As your recollection of professional officer. So you spoke to Mr. Batchelor at another point in time during the investigation, correct? And before this happened, you had detained Mr. Batchelor, correct? And your partner had placed him in handcuffs, placed him in the back of a cruiser. So during the second conversation with Mr. Batchelor, you asked Mr. Batchelor if he had been drinking, correct? And he responded,
Objection as to hearsay.
Your Honor, we're not going into the contents of what was said, just that my client responded to the question.
Okay, I thought you were asking what his response was.
No, I said my client responded. And then you told him that you were going to take him down to the station, correct?
Right.
Okay, to do a breath test. So then you placed him back into the vehicle again, correct? And still you had not read him his Miranda rights at that.
Correct.
So according to you, Mr. Batchelor seemed intoxicated, is that fair to say?
Yes,
But you did not administer PBT on scene,
correct, I was not trained.
okay, and you did not conduct a field sobriety test.
Correct, Mr. Batchelor refused.
Okay, so let's talk about what you did observe from Mr. Batchelor.
Mhm.
You did not smell any alcohol on Mr. Batchelor's breath, correct? So your testimony today is that you smelled the odor of alcohol on Mr. Batchelor's breath.
If memory serves correct.
Officer, you wrote a report of this incident, correct?
Correct.
You were truthful?
Yes.
Honest? You included important details because you knew that this would be used in some sort of prosecution possibly in the future? If I showed you this report, would you recognize it?
Yeah.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Right.
Officer, this is your report. From the date in question,
Can you voice up for me, sir?
Yes.
does it appear to be altered or changed in any way? So if you could you just please look at this police report and tell me where you see that you had noted you observed the odor of alcohol in Mr. Batchelor's breath?
It's not.
So to be clear, you did not note that you observed the smell of alcohol in Mr. Batchelor's breath. You also did not notice that he had bloodshot eyes.
I did notice it's also.
I didn't hear you.
If I did notice, it's not noted.
So it's not noted in your report.
Correct.
Okay. You did not note that he had watery eyes.
Correct.
You did not note that he had droopy eyes. You did not note that you observed any open containers of alcohol in the vicinity. You did not see any containers of liquor, period.
Correct.
You did not see him stumble.
That's not.
You did not see him fall down.
No.
You did not observe any slurred speech. Did you note any slurred speech in your report?
I did not.
So the only thing that you noted in your report that you personally observed was that Mr. Batchelor was leaning against his vehicle.
Correct.
Mr. Batchelor was standing next to some sort of an SUV that evening, correct? But as part of your investigation, you did not personally inspect the vehicle for damage.
I did not say.
So that's a no.
Correct.
You did not note finding any debris on scene.
I did not know.
You also did not note finding any blood on the car, correct?
Correct.
You were also present when Mr. Batchelor did a data master breathalyzer test at DDC, correct?
Correct.
You're not a certified operator, for a doubt. Okay,
Not at that time.
no further questions.
Can you redirect?
Just very brief, Judge. When you arrive on scene, sir, is it part of your duties to collect evidence the second that you get there?
No.
What are your sort of concerns when you first get on the scene for an auto accident involving injuries?
The first priority is preservation of life. The second priority is the security of the scene.
And is it fair to say that, determining if there's blood on a vehicle is neither of those concerns?
Not immediately.
Not an immediate concern, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions, Judge.
Okay, so officer, set the stage. We get called to this scene, have a person, at the time that you arrived at the scene was the deceased on the scene.
Correct.
Okay, so the deceased was there, and what is your objective once you arrive at the scene?
The first objective is to protect any sort of life, preserve any life that's still on scene. I did observe medics and fire already loading the individual into the ambulance.
All right, so at this stage, are you in investigation mode, or are you trying to just determine who's who and who saw what?
At that point, I'm concerned with the scene security and determining who's who saw what, who's involved, essentially.
When you encounter the defendant, is the defendant the subject of your investigation?
Based on the witness statement, yes.
Okay, so you already indicated that at the time that you talked to the defendant, he was not free to leave, is that right? And he was placed in handcuffs
After it was determined that no,
after he was determined he had no ID. Okay. And you began to ask him questions about him being the driver and what happened?
I think my partner asked if he was the driver.
So why wasn't he read Miranda before he began asking questions? He was in custody and not free to leave.
Can't answer that right now, just because of the how long this was. It's been quite a few scenes since 2000.
Understandable. Can you give me any reason or any reasonable explanation as to why he was not read Miranda?
At this time, I
And you tell us about so you arrested the defendant. Was the defendant under arrest for not having the license?
The defendant was under arrest for the critical injury accident, no license, and suspicion of attorney violence.
All right. Now, why did you suspect that he was operating while intoxicated?
If memory serves correctly, not only was I informed by a witness that he had slurred speech, I can also see on the video that he had slurred speech last in the eyes.
All right. Why did you know any of that in your report?
This is a very early portion of my career with policing, and that is one of, if I'm not mistaken, one of the first interview that I had. At that point, it was not
So, although you did not indicate it in your report, do you have any independent recollection that he had glassy eyes and slurred speech and so forth?
not at the time.
So how can you testify that he did in fact, because you don't have a report that references that?
It was solely on the camera. So
Sorry,
it was based off the camera footage that I was seeing.
camera footage that you would.
That was shown to me.
Oh, so you saw some camera footage before you came here to testify?
No, what the defense counsel.
Oh, I see. And just now,
Yes.
you were able to see the defendant?
Yes, I could see his face as well as I could hear his third speech.
Did that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Any questions based on my question?
Just a couple of clarifying questions, if I may, Judge. So, Officer Branch, when you first approach Mr. Batchelor and ask him questions, had you already placed him in handcuffs at that time, or was he walking about this?
He was walking about.
Okay, so he was not under arrest the first time that you spoke?
Correct.
Okay, you had earlier indicated that he wasn't free to leave, but is it fair to say that he wasn't under arrest?
At that time, yes.
Thank you.
So Officer Branch, you say that this was a long time ago, correct?
Yes.
So 2021,
Yes.
which is why you can't remember why you didn't read him his Miranda rights.
Correct.
But somehow, even though this was 3 years ago, you still remember he had glassy eyes.
That was based off the camera footage that you had presented.
So you were able to see on that footage that he had glassy eyes.
Based on the lighting, yes.
How could that be? Based on the lighting on scene?
Yes, based on the lighting on the scene with the camera footage, the eyes are extremely shiny, is the best way that I can describe it.
So the video was that clear.
It's not extremely clear, but I can definitely tell it's over on a reflective surface, very similar to the car.
And there was ample overhead street lighting on the
Objection
scene.
has the ask and answer this.
Was there ample street lighting at this time?
It's not ample, no, it's based on the reflection of the blue lens of the reflection.
So were you facing, how far apart were you from Mr. Batchelor during this time?
Maybe 5 or 6 feet.
And you were looking at him directly in the eyes? The entire conversation?
Not the entire conversation.
So that was, if that was clear on the video, I would just like to ask again, why did you not indicate it in your report?
Due to the earliness of the career of OWIs that I had, it did not seem, or I did not have it, because it's a very new scene.
And again, your testimony today is you had no independent recollection of those indicators of
Correct.
intoxication.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, Judge, thank you.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. Any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. People would call Sergeant Fitzpatrick.
Please read your name and spell your court reporter. Raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. You good to start? And again, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir. Can you tell us your name again?
David Fitzpatrick.
Employed, sir?
Yes, I am.
Where are you employed by?
The Detroit Police Department,
And in what capacity?
as a sergeant of the arson unit.
And how long have you been employed by the Detroit Police Department?
11 years.
Were you employed in the same capacity that you are today on June 14th of 2021?
No, I was not.
What were you employed by the Detroit Police Department at that time?
Yes, as a sergeant on patrol.
Okay, so you were a patrol sergeant on June 14th of 2021?
Yes,
Were you working on this date?
yes, I was.
Now, sir, on that date in question, June 14th of 2021, did you receive any specific requests?
Yes, and then Colonel Sergeant, I received a radio request to meet a scout at the DEC, our jail, to do a data master.
Okay, DDC, can you tell us what that stands for?
Detroit Detention Center.
Thank you. And the task that you had indicated, can you tell us again what that was?
It's the data master evidentiary breath test.
And can you tell us just briefly what a data master breath test is for?
Yes, it's to test the breath alcohol level of someone who's under arrest for OWI or one of those related offenses.
And how was that test performed?
It's a breath test, so the subject would blow into a tube that is then calculated by a computer to give a result.
And is there a method that you guys use to ensure that the system is calibrated?
Yeah, before each breath test and before the final result is printed out, it does self-calibrate every time.
Okay. And do you know how the machine self-calibrates?
Specifically, no, it's all an internal mechanism that it does.
Okay. And is there, as you're using the system, is there a way that the system shows that it's been calibrated?
Yes, it'll show up on the final printout.
Now, does the use of the data master test require any formal training or certification?
Yes, it does.
What kind of formal training and certification?
Data master level 2 class at the time, taken at MSP.
Okay. And is that generally what's required, or is that the training that you've undergone?
That was generally required at the time. Now that we've upgraded to a new system, it's a different class, but that's the class that we were
Okay.
required to have at the time.
And did you possess that certification?
Yes, I do.
When were you trained in that?
2016.
Okay. And did you have the level 2 requirement that you indicated was required?
Yes, I did.
So I'm gonna take you back to the day in question. Did you perform a data master test on that day?
I did.
Did you see the individual that you performed the test on that day in court today?
I did.
Can you point to that individual and identify her clothing that they're wearing?
Yes, he said that the defense table on a black polo shirt.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the identification of the defendant by the witness?
Someone,
Now, prior to administering that test, what did you do?
Read the subject, the counsel test rights on the DI 177, and then observe the subject for 15 minutes while I enter the subject data into the data master computer.
Okay, when you say subject, who are you referring to?
The defendant.
Okay. Did you read the defendant his chemical test rights?
I did.
And after reading his chemical test rights, what, if anything, did the defendant say in response?
He agreed to take the test.
Okay, so is it fair to say he was willing to waive those rights and complete the data master test?
Yes, complete the test he did.
And can you walk us through the first step of administering the test?
After reading the chemical test rights, I would put all the data information into the data master. Data master will then self-calibrate, and once it's ready to begin the first test, it'll start beeping at me. At that point, I put the mouthpiece on and I give it to the defendant to administer the test.
And prior to administering the test, I believe you indicated earlier that there's an observation period.
Yes, 50 minutes.
Okay, did you complete that
Yeah.
test given to the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And anything of note in that would have concerned you as to the results of the data master?
Not that I recall.
And you indicated that the machine will beep when it's been calibrated and ready?
Yes, that's very good. He's dependent to go into the machine.
Okay, did that occur in this case?
Yes.
And after you hear the beep, what do you do?
Give the defendant the straw, the mouthpiece with the straw attached to it. He blows into the tube. Once the machine has received enough sample, it'll stop testing.
Okay. Is there anything that the machine does to indicate that it's had enough of a broad sample?
It'll stop beeping, or all the tone will stop.
Okay, so as the individual, in this case, defendant is blowing into the machine, there's an audible beep while he's doing that, is that fair to say?
Yes, that's correct.
And once that beeping stops, the machine has had a big enough sample?
Yes, then it'll test the sample, then auto recalibrate, and then prepare for another sample.
Okay. And did that occur in this case?
Yes, it did.
And did you, again, do another sample?
Yes, I did.
Now, after you complete the test, are you provided with a paper printout of the results?
Yes, I am.
And if you saw that paper printout, would you recognize it, sir?
Yes, I will.
Your Honor, I have People's Proposed Exhibit 3, which is provided to the defense and shown now. Any questions?
Okay.
Sir, can you identify for the record what it is that I've handed you?
As the data master test report.
Okay. And on the top of it, what leads you to believe that this is the data master from the one in question?
The date, time, and location, which was 6/15/2021 at 1:35 in the morning at the Detroit TDC. Has the subject's name and my operator number and badge.
Okay, and the subject's name, what does it indicate is the subject's name?
Ronell A. Bachelor.
Your Honor, people move into evidence, move for the admission into evidence of people's proposals at 3.
Your Honor, I would object to this. I don't believe that the foundational requirements have been met under People versus Kurlatowski. I don't believe that the foundation has been laid as to the reliability of this testing device, as well as the method and procedure followed for operating this machine.
Judge, I would first state that obviously a foundation has been met, he's indicating that this paper printout indicates that it fairly accurately represents the results of the test that was given. As it relates to the procedures, the officer has testified that he is a certified data master, is certified administering data masters, he indicated that the observation period has been completed, that there was 2 tests, there's nothing more that's required under the law, and he complained of unreliability, goes to his weight not to pass his disability. So, sir, looking at People's 3, does it indicate what the first testing result is?
Yes, it does.
So, does it also indicate when the machine has been sort of calibrated, that pre-calibration check you talked about earlier?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and what does that show? What does it say?
So it shows a blank test at 1:36, the internal standard check, which is the verification at 1:37, then the subject sample at 1:37 at a 0.26 BAC.
Okay, and the calibration sample, does it say what the results are of the calibration sample? Are the numbers associated with it?
No, the blank tests are at 0 BAC.
Okay, and then the second test, is that the subject sample then, the one given by defendant?
Yes,
And what is the result of that?
0.26.
Okay, and you indicated that there's another test that's performed, but in between there, is there another test that's conducted?
Yeah, so the next one is a blank test, again, making sure that the machine's calibrated correctly at 0.00. And then the second subject test, which is a 0.26.
Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
So, officer, you are certified to operate this machine, correct?
Yes, I am.
So let's talk about how you can ensure these machines are accurate. I'm not talking about calibration, but about accuracy. This is an evidential correct machine, correct?
Yes.
And it must be verified for accuracy at least once a week.
I'm not certified to explain that procedure.
You're not qualified to explain that procedure?
No, that'd be by a data master or technician.
So you cannot speak to whether this machine was properly tested for accuracy.
That is not part of my job, no.
So that's a no.
No.
Are you aware that the records of an accuracy check must be kept on file
Yes,
by ZPD?
yes, at the DEC.
And you don't have those records with you today?
No.
So you cannot say before June 15th, 2021, when this machine was tested for accuracy.
Objection, asked and answered. And he's already indicated he doesn't perform these, he wouldn't have personal knowledge of that.
Sustained.
I can move on, Your Honor. So on top of accuracy checks, these machines must also be inspected every 120 days, correct?
Again, not something I would know about.
So something you can't speak of, correct? Okay. Let's talk about calibration because you did testify about that on direct. This result sheet, nowhere on this sheet does it say the word calibration on it.
No, it says internal standard verified, which is how it's checking itself to make sure it's accurate.
Understood. And you also testified on direct that you were unsure about how the internal mechanism works to calibrate the machine.
Correct. That's again not my level of expertise.
You just receive some sort of beep or you receive a notification from the machine that tells you.
Yes.
So you're relying on the machine to tell you that it's calibrated, correct?
Correct.
I would like to focus on the 15-minute observation period that you testified about. So you personally observed Mr. Bachelor for 15 minutes?
Yes.
And that's to ensure he doesn't put anything in his mouth, correct?
He doesn't eat, regurgitate, or have any blood in his mouth.
Because that could skewer the accuracy of the results.
Yes,
You didn't see anything enter his mouth during this period.
no,
Where exactly did you observe Mr. Batchelor? Was it in the same, I'll rephrase. Did you observe Mr. Batchelor in the same room in which the test was conducted?
I can tell you what that done at the DDT, I'm not sure it was in the same room or in the hallway while we were processing and getting into that room.
So you received a call that night to come to DDC to perform the test.
Yes,
And that you said that was about 1 a.m.?
I did not say one.
You wrote a police report of this incident, correct?
Yes,
Were truthful in that report?
yes,
Honest?
yes.
You would this refresh your recollection if you were to view this report as to when you received that call?
Yes.
May I approach your honor? Sergeant, this is your report.
Yes,
Was it investigation, any questions?
correct.
Does it appear to be altered or changed in any way?
No,
Please review the report, and when your recollection has been refreshed, please look up. So when approximately did you receive a call to come to the DDC?
approximately 1 a.m.
So you were not at DDC, then, it's fair to say.
No, it was not.
Do you recall how far away you were?
I was somewhere in the 8th precinct, my patrol zone.
So how many minutes approximately would it take to get there?
Objection as the relevance.
What was the question again?
How long would it take to get to the DDC? From where he was?
I would also note this officer hasn't testified that he was the one who transported the defendant to the DVC, so I don't see the relevance in this.
I am asking as to when this officer arrived and how long it took him to get to the DDC. I'm trying to establish that the 15-minute observation period did in fact occur. So that is why I'm asking how long it took for him to get.
And I'm trying to think of where I was at the time. 20 minutes.
15 minutes. So generously speaking, 15 minutes to the DDC. The data master results show you when you do when the subject first blows, correct? The time?
Yes, when the first sample was taken.
And this first sample was taken at 1:36, correct?
That was the blank test. His first sample was at 1:37.
1:37. Okay. So it's fair to say that you arrived at approximately 1:15 in the morning at DDC, correct?
Approximately.
And that you observed this individual for approximately 15 minutes,
Yes,
and then you administered the results 7 minutes later.
yes,
So we're talking about the data master GMT model specifically, correct?
I believe so. I'm not sure the exact model number of it.
The DMT though. Is that fair to
Okay,
say?
master.
Is that the machine DPD still uses today?
No, it is not.
Are you aware that the Michigan State Police launched an investigation into the data
Objection.
master?
Judge, first of all, this witness's awareness of any of this is irrelevant, and I believe defense counsel is testifying at this point.
I'm asking about his own personal knowledge as to an investigation. He can say yes or he could say no.
I would again state that his awareness as to anything that has occurred is irrelevant. His awareness of these things is not an issue in this case.
Your Honor, I just would say that it is relevant because it goes to the accuracy of these tests. Are you aware that the Michigan State Police launched an investigation into the data master DMT?
Yes, I am.
And that investigation dealt with flawed test results.
I'm not really sure. It is entirely on the scope of the investigation.
Are you aware that investigators found irregularities with the DMT devices at DDC specifically?
Yes, for a certain period of time, they were taken out of service and then re-entered into service.
And that they were removed in 2021, correct?
I couldn't tell you the exact dates.
No further questions.
You redirect? Thank you, sir. You may step down. Next witness, please.
Your Honor, people call Sergeant Warner.
From the back. So the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so God.
I do,
It's
Your
been
Honor.
a long day. Yeah, we ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
That, you know,
Can you tell us your name again?
Paul Warner,
And are you currently employed, sir?
I am.
Who are you employed by?
I'm employed by the city of Detroit Police Department.
And in what capacity?
I'm a sergeant, with Fatal Squad, which is under homicide and SWAT.
Okay. And can you tell us what Fatal Squad is?
It's a unit that investigates all fatal critical crashes, operating while impaired, felony offenses, any accident deemed by the chief of police.
Okay. And how long have you been with the Detroit Police Department in total?
I'll be done with my 28th year
And how long have you been with the Fatal Unit?
since November of 2013.
Thank you. Now, were you employed in this capacity on June 14th, 2021?
I was.
Were you working on this date, sir?
I was recalled, yes,
Okay, so you were off duty initially on that day?
yes.
And you said you were called.
Yes, I'm on 24-hour 7-day operation.
Did you receive a call on that day? Now, did your duties as a police officer take you at or near the location of Joy Road in Greenfield in the city of Detroit, County of Wayne, state of Michigan?
Yes,
Why did you go to that location, sir?
there was a crash involving pedestrian.
And did you make it to that location?
I did.
And when you made it to that location, what are your some of your duties when you initially arrived on the scene?
Sir, you have to step out, no shorts allowed. Okay.
Thank you. I'll re-ask you that question. When you arrive on the scene, specifically the scene we were talking about earlier, what are some of your duties when you first get there?
I make direction to my team, evidence identified, parties involved. And then, field sketch, photographs are normally taken, by transit services for my team.
And you had mentioned the field sketch. Did you complete a field sketch in this case?
I did.
And if you saw that field sketch again, would you recognize it, sir?
I would.
Your Honor, I have people's proposed exhibit 4, which I'm showing the defense. May I approach the witness?
May.
Sir, can you tell us what it is that I've just handed you?
This is a table of measurements and a field sketch that I completed for this incident.
Okay, and how many pages are there total?
2.
Okay, is that the sum of your field sketch?
Yes,
Okay, does it fairly and accurately reflect the field sketch that was done for this case on this day?
there's a copy with exhibit sticker.
Okay, but is it fairly and accurately, is any changes from the field sketch you completed?
No.
Okay, so is this substantially the same condition, is that fair to say?
It's a copy. Yes.
Okay, thank you. People move for the admission into evidence of people's proposed to the court.
Objection.
Admitted.
Now, sir, in the field sketch on the second page, can you just tell us generally what we're looking at?
Second page is a sketch, showing an intersection and locations of items that were identified as evidence, which would be listed on the table. Measurements.
And the information that's conveyed in the field sketch, where are you getting that information from?
From the scene.
Okay, so is it fair to say you're not just making this up in your head, this is stuff that you're seeing on the scene?
Yes.
Okay, and the first page of the scene sketch, what does that contain?
That is a table of,
Okay, and is there a sort of index on there as well?
yes,
And do the numbers associated on the index correlate to the numbers that are on the second page?
that's correct.
And I'll ask you again, so the field sketch, this is people's exhibit 4, is that fairly and accurately reflect the scene as you came upon it that day?
It's a log of the evidence that I identified.
Okay, and that fairly and accurately reflects where you found that evidence, that sort of thing?
Yes.
Now, sir, if you saw a picture of that scene, would you recognize it?
Yes,
At People's Proposed Exhibit 5. May I approach the witness?
You may.
Now, looking at People's Proposed Exhibit 5, can you identify what that is?
this appears to be a Google photo of Joy Road, looking in the western direction towards.
Okay. And, sir, that photo, is that location there, does it have any significance for this case?
Yes, it would be location of it, which was Joy Cross.
And that photo that your People's Proposed Exhibit 5, does that fairly inaccurately reflect the scene?
I would say no, because this is not a city for it.
Okay. But the location generally of where the scene that you're at, is it fairly inaccurately reflect the location?
This is a photograph of the intersection that I responded to where the accident occurred, not where that came.
Okay. So it doesn't reflect the scene as you saw it on that day, but it reflects the location generally, is that fair to say?
Yes.
People move for the admission and evidence of People's Proposed Exhibit 5.
No objection.
Admitted.
Now, sir, looking at People's Proposed Exhibit 5 as well as, or, I'm sorry, People's Exhibit 5 and People's Exhibit 4, can you tell me where sort of some of the debris, items of victims' clothing, that sort of thing was found on the scene?
From your exhibit 5, which is assuming Google photo, you're looking westbound on Joy from Press. On the sketch itself, it is directing evidence is west of Press towards Ring.
Okay. And the sort of collection of some of the victims' items, are they in a particular lane in the Exhibit 5? Is it the far right, the middle lane, the turn lane there, or the far left?
On the sketch itself, you have a vehicle and one item in travel lane, westbound travel lane. Other items are identified in the left.
Okay. And that left turn lane, is that a lane of travel or a lane dedicated just for turn?
That is the left turn lane, which does break a little bit past Press from where people can enter east and west, where the double yellow lines are to the left turn.
Okay. And is there an intersection that you see on there, sir? Like, I'm sorry, not an intersection, a crosswalk?
There's sidewalks leading to the roadway is an unmarked crosswalk.
And by unmarked, can you tell us what you mean?
A marked crosswalk, there would be lines showing that you could,
Okay, that would be lines in the roadway.
yes, going across from sidewalk to sidewalk.
Is there anything else in the photo that indicates that this is an area for pedestrians to cross?
The sidewalk has the handicap red bumps on each of the sidewalks. On the photograph, you can see them going north and south, and also you can see them on the westbound side.
Thank you. So the evidence that you find from the victim, the shoes, the various items that are marked in the field sketch, and again, looking at People's Exhibit 5, is it fair to say that the victim was traveling through a crosswalk at the time it was set?
It's possible.
Thank you. Now, sir, did you complete any other work in this case?
I did.
Were you requested to do a CDR download?
I was requested with the search warrant to download the event data report, CDR software.
Okay. So you indicated earlier you had a search warrant. Did you get a search warrant to retrieve this data?
Was one obtained.
Yes. Okay. And that was prior to you getting the data?
Yes,
And did you complete the download?
I did.
And the download, was that completed of some random vehicle or a vehicle that was relevant to your investigation?
The vehicle that was from the witness.
And sir, if you saw a copy of that CDR report again today, would you recognize it?
Yes,
Your Honor, I have People's Proposed Exhibit 6. May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Sir, can you identify what it is that I just handed you?
it's a 9-page CDR report.
Okay. And is that the CDR report from the one that you did for this case?
Yes,
Is it fairly inaccurate to reflect that report?
there's a copy with your exhibit number 6 on.
People move the admission and evidence of people's proposed exhibit 6.
No objection.
Admitted.
Now, sir, in the exhibit 6, what sort of information can you get from the CDR?
In general, for the event data recorder reports, you can get speed, braking, other vehicle information, ignition cycles, is a deployment or non-deployment event. Yes. Depending on the vehicle, has additional information or less.
So this information that's collected, what sort of triggers this information collection?
The vehicle, deciding if the airbag is going to deploy or not.
And is there an event reported in the CDR in this case, because this is exhibit 6?
Yes.
I'm going to direct your attention to a specific page here. Is there a section within the CDR that indicates whether brakes are being used at all?
Yes.
And can you tell us for the record what page you're looking at there?
This would be page 3 of that.
And the event data, does it record continuously, or is there sort of a time interval for when it records the state?
This vehicle reports 2.5 seconds prior to the event.
Okay. And is it just one single event, or does it record multiple lines of data? Do you need me to rephrase my question?
That's a confusing question.
Sorry. So the 2.5 second mark, is that the only piece of data it collects, or does it also collect data from 2 seconds, 1.5 seconds?
This vehicle does 2.5 seconds prior and every half second up to a half second prior. Up to it.
And looking at that data on page 3, is there any point at which the brakes are ever active on this vehicle?
No.
So at 2.5 seconds, is the vehicle braking?
No.
2 seconds?
No.
1.5 seconds?
No.
1 second?
No.
And half a second?
No.
So is it fair to say that the CDR does not, the CDR indicates that the brakes were never, the individual driving never used the brakes prior to the accident? Is that fair to say?
The report indicates brakes were not applied based on.
Thank you. I have no further questions here.
Cross-examine.
Good afternoon. Let's start with the CDR retrieval report. Does this in any way show how fast the car was traveling?
It does.
And how fast was the car traveling on the scene?
There's actually 5 speeds on there. Would you like them all?
Closest to the time of the crash, please.
Can't tell you close to the crash. I can tell you based on the event.
Based on the event then.
Yes. That would be 38 miles per hour.
Are you aware of the speed limit in this area, Joint Press?
Okay.
I would also like to talk about the location of where this accident occurred. So it appears, based on People's Exhibit number 5, that we don't see a crosswalk, correct?
There's not a marked crosswalk.
Not a marked crosswalk.
Correct.
So it's fair to say that you don't know if the pedestrian is using the crosswalk at this time.
Based on the evidence, I cannot tell you where that victim was standing or walking.
Thank you. And then finally, I would like to talk about some of the evidence that you observed on the scene. So in the report that the prosecutor shows you, you noted on your report that you found debris, correct?
Correct.
From the vehicle.
Yes.
But it's fair to say that you could not link the debris to the vehicle in question, right?
Did I personally match them up? No,
Yes.
I personally did.
So the answer is no. Correct?
I can't tell you if somebody else did. I can tell you I personally did not.
Thank you. So that's it. And you also noted that there was blood at the scene, correct?
Yes,
And you did not personally perform any DNA testing.
that's right.
And there's no way, based on what you saw at the scene, that you could determine how long that debris had been there, correct?
Based off the investigation, I can tell you it wasn't there before. Because of data that I observed during the investigation.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you.
Any other witnesses?
One final witness, Your Honor. Your Honor, you would call Detective Owen.
Good afternoon, sir. Please give your name and spelling to the court report.
Yes, sir. Now, O-N-D-O-N-D-O-W.
Swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Can you tell us your name?
Donald Owen.
And sir, are you currently employed?
Yes, sir.
Who are you employed by?
I'm a detective with the city of Detroit, currently assigned to the ABER unit of the police department.
And the ABER unit, is that an acronym?
Yes, sir. Audio Video Evidence Response Team
And how long have you been with the ABER team?
since 2017,
And how long have you been at the Detroit Police Department?
over 25 years.
Have you worked as a police officer anywhere else?
No, sir.
Now, were you employed with the ABER section on June 14th, 2021?
Yes, sir.
And where were you located at on that day, sir?
I work at headquarters, sir. We go in and out, but I was at headquarters. I think.
And at headquarters, do you have access to any sort of technology or video or anything like that?
Yes, sir.
What sort of stuff do you have access to?
All the green light cameras, city cameras, mild vision cameras, the traffic cameras that are located. We have access to the camera systems within the city of Detroit.
Okay. And do you have are you able to monitor these even live?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you have the ability to remote download video from these sources?
Yes, sir.
Now, on that June 14th date, did you receive a request to locate some video, or potentially download some video?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall the location that request was for?
15401 Joy Road.
Okay. And were you able to locate some video from that location?
Yes, sir.
Were you told specifically what you were looking for, time frame, anything like that?
Yes, sir. That's provided by the OIC of the case. They fill out a form, a supplement smart sheet form, and it tells us exactly what they would like.
Okay. And on this, at this 15401 Joy Road location, prior to downloading, do you do anything to verify that the timing of everything is correct?
Within the Gentex system, the timing is usually still correct unless it's a 4-hour offset. And that's usually done when they do a software update, because these cameras are updated from Sweden of all places.
Okay.
But on that particular day, the cameras were.
Okay, when you say on, does that indicate that the time that was portrayed on the camera is accurate to, say, the world clock?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, sir, have you, you earlier indicated you were able to find some video from that location at 15401 Joy Road?
Yes, sir.
And if you saw that video again, would you recognize it?
Yes, sir.
And Baxter, have you had an opportunity to review the contents of the thumb drive I'm holding in my hand?
Yes, sir. I also have a copy of my own from Arthur, the original file.
And when you were able to locate, or when you were able to view the contents of the thumb drive marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 7, can you tell us what's on there?
It's a video, I believe the camera name was Overview, but it's a camera from 15401 Jordan Road.
Okay. Is there one single camera angle or is it multiple camera angles?
I believe that location has 5 camera angles.
And when you were able to view the video, does it fairly and accurately reflect the video that you downloaded from 15401 Joy Road?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, people move the admission into evidence of People's Proposed Exhibit 7.
Any objection?
I would like to view exactly what. No objection.
And then,
And Your Honor, how would the court like to view the video? Would you like to play that, sharing my screen on Zoom?
yes. Bringing you in. And thank you. You should be all set.
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, may I publish the exhibit?
Yes.
For the record, starting at 0 minutes, 0 seconds. Your Honor, I paused at 31 seconds. I would like to replay that 30 seconds. Again, starting 0 minutes, 0 seconds. Pausing at 31 seconds. I would note for the court, if the court would like to see the video in a little more detail, I can bring my laptop up.
Officer, this exhibit that people is showing, what is this depict? What street is that, and what parking lot?
That is from the location of 15401 Jordan Road. It's one of the green light cameras that's connected to the building.
Now, is there anything about this particular video that drew your attention to something?
Well, the video is quite dark, but up in the top, right to the right side of the white building with the light on, you can see an individual walking. And then you can see that individual being struck by the vehicle.
Okay, so your attention was drawn to the upper right corner of this video? Where that light is?
Right behind that white vehicle, that white, looks like a Chevy from here.
Okay.
Right to the right of the timestamp. You'll see it's really dark. I can make you a demonstrative if the court needed one, where we lighten that up, but we typically don't do any clarification on video unless requested to do so.
Can you replay that again, please?
Yes, Judge. 0 minutes, 0 seconds. Again, pause 31 seconds.
Let me see your laptop.
Hey.
Yes,
Hey, approach as well, Your Honor.
sure.
Good, all right, sir.
No, sir.
Oh. I got it. Thank you. I was looking in the wrong place.
And just for clarity of the record, defense counsel and I did approach the court with the video on my laptop, show again the court the relevant portion. Your Honor, I have no questions, further questions for this witness.
Cross exam.
Officer, it was extremely dark that night, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So based on the video that you were able to pull from this business, you're not able to see a license plate on this vehicle, correct?
No, ma'am.
You're not able to determine the make of the car
No, ma'am.
or the model of the car.
No, ma'am. Not for me. I was never asked to do that. I was asked to just download the video.
But based on what you see in this video, you can't determine who's driving the car.
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Can you redirect?
Very brief, Judge. So why pull this video?
The videos, the unit that I'm in, we're trained to work with video. The OICs of the cases, to testify to video, there's more than just looking at a video. You have frame rate, resolution, there's a lot of aspects about video. So our unit is tasked to do that for the OICs of the case, so that there's no issues in court.
This location's, I guess, let me rephrase my question. Why this date? Why this location? Why pull the video from here?
It was pulled for an accident.
Okay, so was information communicated to you about what to look for?
I don't believe so, sir, because usually it's cameras and time frame, and that's how we work. I really don't want to know what's going on because I don't want to introduce any kind of biases into what I'm doing. So I just give me what I'm looking for is what you want, like time frame and cameras.
Okay, so this specific time, then, is this just a random chunk of time, or is there a reason why you pulled camera footage for about 7 minutes from this chunk of time at this specific location? Why not pull it 8 blocks down the road 2 years ago?
Well, it's pulled for the actual the case number that pertains to the crime or issue that happened on that particular day. The
Okay,
OIC determines the evidentiary value of what they would like, and I'm the one to extract the process.
so, when you watch this video, is it fair to say that there was something that, led you to believe that the officer in charge might need this video?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what is it that you observed that, led you to believe that?
Someone was struck by a vehicle.
Thank you. And sir, the location, was this a random location in Detroit, or were you given a specific location to look generally for videos?
Specific location.
Thank you. And did that correlate to the location of the accident that the officer in charge had communicated to?
Yeah, when they do the request, because we don't get into a lot of exacts for us. If they ask for 13 green light cameras, we would download 13 locations. We would download that and process that for them. And if we're asked to do anything above the normal processing of video, any kind of clarification work, then that would be a separate request so that we can show original compared to what was clarified. So that there's no manipulation of the video other than a clarification.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Judge.
Nothing as to that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Your Honor. Have a great day, sir.
You too. You have the witnesses for the people.
I have no other witnesses, Your Honor.
Witnesses for the people.
No witnesses.
Speak.
Judge, at this time, I would move for a bind over as charged on all counts. I do have a copy of some of the paper exhibits, in fact, all the paper exhibits that were admitted today for the court of public life. Just make sure these are all here. May I approach you?
Yes.
So just briefly, Judge, we heard testimony from Officer Branch that he was tasked out to a location, Joy Road in Greenfield in the city of Detroit County, Plains, state of Michigan. He indicated that when he arrived at that location, he observed an individual who was later identified as Mr. Robert Lever, being loaded by medics to transport to the hospital. Indicated that he observed another individual who was involved in the accident. That he spoke with that individual being Mr. Ronell Batchelor. The defendant indicated that when he spoke with the defendant prior to the defendant's arrest, the defendant indicated that the victim, Mr. Robert Lever, had walked out in front of him. The exhibits that were admitted, primarily so you have People's Exhibit 1, which shows that the death of Mr. Robert Lever was caused by the accident itself. People's Exhibit 2, the certified driving record, which indicates that Mr. Batchelor did not possess a valid driver's license on that day. In fact, Officer Branch testified that Mr. Batchelor never produced a driver's license on the day in question, again showing he did not possess one. People's Exhibit 3, the data master results from Sergeant Fitzpatrick, and I anticipate the defense is going to get up and tell you not to believe a data master test, to tell you that it's unreliable. We heard the testimony from Sergeant Fitzgerald. He is trained in the use of data master testing, that the data master itself verifies through blank tests that it is calibrated and ready to go, that it shows zeros on there. He testified that the sound it makes indicates when it is ready. He testified that all of those proper procedures were followed in this case. We're looking at probable cause, Judge. If the defense counsel wants to file motions as to the sufficiency or reliability of a data master test showing your client at 8.26, she's free to do that. But this isn't even a close call on operating while intoxicated. This isn't a 0.10, 0.19. This is over triple the limit. Not 0.08, not 0.16, not even 0.24, 0.26. Defense, as I anticipate, is going to tell the court that you shouldn't believe the results of that this data master test just happened to show that the defendant was more than triple the legal limit. I find that hard to believe, Judge. The testimony from Sergeant Warner was that he arrived on the scene. It's People's Exhibit 4 and 5. Now, the court watched the video, People's 7, and admittedly the video is a little bit dark. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on. But if you look at People's 5, you can see that white building. You see where the victim, Mr. Lever, is crossing the street. You can see those rumble strips right where Mr. Lever walked by, indicating, as Sergeant Warner testified, that an unmarked crosswalk is, indicating that pedestrians are to cross at that location. We also see that there's a sort of turn lane, not a through travel lane, and as you watch the video, Judge, you can see that the victim is standing in the turn lane when he's hit by the defendant. The defendant never even saw the victim. He didn't see him because he's a .26. We know he didn't see him because he never touched his brakes. That's People's Exhibit 7 or Exhibit 6. Not once, not 2.5 seconds, 2 seconds, 1.5 seconds, half a second, none of it. He never touched his brakes because he's drunk. He's operating while intoxicated. He's above that legal limit. He has a suspended license. The people have met their burden of proving this case beyond reasonable doubt, and for that reason, Your Honor, I'd ask the court to move the find over.
Your Honor, defense objects to the bind over for several reasons. And first, I would like to address my client's statements because defense does believe that these statements should be suppressed because he was not Fred's Miranda rights and he was subjected to custodial interrogation. I would like to take both of these statements in turn because there are 2 points in which police interview my client. The first is when Officer Branch initially approaches Mr. Batchelor. Of course, as this court is aware, for determining whether a client is in custody, the question is whether a reasonable person would think they were free to leave, not whether officers think they're free to leave, but whether the person themselves does. And the answer here is no. Officer Branch testified that their guns were drawn, that eventually multiple units arrived, and that traffic was blocked off.
Judge, that guns were drawn, that was never the testimony.
I don't recall that.
I apologize, Your Honor, not guns drawn, but they were armed. I apologize for that. They were armed.
That's a big difference.
I misspoke, Your Honor. Okay. But it is fair to say that Officer Branch did testify that a criminal investigation was underway. They were investigating this crash. So 2 officers were standing with my client, and then the inquiry turns into whether he was subjected to interrogation. The question that was asked was what happened, and a response was elicited, were you the driver? So the officer did testify that question, while not by him, was asked by the other officer on scene. Both of those questions are likely to elicit incriminating responses as they go to the operational element and causation element of OWI death. So that's the first. We believe that the responses to those questions should be suppressed. In the second instance, there's no question, Your Honor. Officer Branch testified that my client was handcuffed, he was already detained, and he was placed in the back of a police cruiser. So they get him out of the vehicle. And in this scene, he is in custody. The question here during this interaction was, were you drinking? And response was elicited. Based on that response, Officer Branch testified that he told my client that he was going to take him down to DDC for a breathalyzer. So we can assume that that question was inherently incriminating. And that goes to also People versus Kelly is very clear. The Michigan Supreme Court says you don't have to be under formal arrest. You just have to be detained in handcuffs in order for Miranda warnings to be read. And they were not read in this instance at any point. So all of those statements should be suppressed. Moving on to the elements, Your Honor.
Well, except for the officer testified that the reason he was placed in handcuffs was because he couldn't produce a valid driver's license.
We're not contesting that, Your Honor.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
not
they
contesting
had
that.
probable cause to arrest.
But detained still, that requires Miranda warnings. People versus Kelly makes very clear if you're in handcuffs and under arrest.
They also indicated, officer also indicated that he was under arrest for operating without a license, and this person was injured as a result of the accident. He also suspected that he had been drinking. So let's say, and I agree with you, let's say the alleged admission that the defendant gave about being involved or drinking or whatever the case may be, the officer had reasonable suspicion to believe that the defendant had been drinking. He said that was based on his observations of the defendant, even though he neglected to believe that in his police report. I submit to you that would be a question of fact determined by the trial if they believe that testimony.
Your Honor, if I can, I would like to address that specifically about some of those observations of reasonable suspicion. So for arrest.
And he wanted to give your client a breathalyzer at the scene that your client allegedly refused.
Well, that's his right, Your Honor. That's your right. He was issued a citation for that, but that is his right. But I would like to talk about the probable cause for the arrest as well, if that's all right. I know Your Honor referenced reasonable suspicion.
You got
Yeah.
probable cause because he didn't have a driver's license. He was involved in an accident. That's probable cause for arrest right there.
Understood, Your Honor, but on the statement itself, if they said he was under arrest and he was handcuffed, that is custodial interrogation that requires forensic. So regardless of what the reason was for that, I'm still requesting that those statements be suppressed, and I'm happy to move on at this point
Please.
on that issue, yes. I would like to talk about the operational element, which is element 1 of OWI death. There is no witness that testified today that personally observed Mr. Batchelor behind the wheel. While officers may, of course, look to reasonable suspicion or probable cause, there's no personal testimony about who was operating the vehicle and whether it was Mr. Batchelor. So I do bring that up. We did see the green light video multiple times. And as that officer testified, it is, and I think it's the court could see as well, there's no way to determine the license plate based on what we saw today, who was driving the
Let me
car.
interrupt just for a second. People, how do you place the defendant behind the wheel?
Well, Judge, the people would contest, first, that he's still on the scene next to a vehicle that was just involved in an auto accident. The officer testified that he's leaning against the tree because he couldn't stand. He indicates that the individual had watery eyes, signs of intoxication, and he also made statements indicating that.
My question was, how do you place it behind the wheel?
Right, Judge.
Without his statement,
Which statement is the court referring to?
the statement that he said that he was a driver.
So the statement that I'm referring to is the first one when the officer arrives and he says, I believe the question asked of the witness was, did you speak with the defendant? Did you ask him what his version of events was? He indicated that the defendant said that the victim had just walked out the street right in front of him. You don't do that if you're the passenger in the vehicle. I think that's sort of first person narrative.
So I think the defense is saying though, is that at that time, the defendant was in custody and was being interrogated by the officer.
And Judge, not only do I disagree with that, case law disagrees with that. The testimony of the witness is that at that point, the witness was, the defendant was not in handcuffs, he was not under arrest. While he wasn't free to leave, that's reasonable suspicion, not probable cause for an arrest. So at the time that they asked him the first question, he's not arrested. Detained, sure, but not arrested. And reasonable suspicion does not require, Terry stops based on reasonable suspicion of detainment do not require Miranda warnings. When the arrest and things associated with the form of arrest, such as handcuffs, being placed in the back of a cop car, none of which are present in this case.
Your Honor, if I may. So it is uncontested based on the testimony and what the prosecutor is saying that Mr. Batchelor was detained. And the inquiry for custodial interrogation is whether a reasonable person would think they are free to leave. And Officer Branch also testified that he didn't think Mr. Batchelor was free to leave. So how did Mr. Batchelor think he was free to leave? And I think based on the indicia of the circumstances that we drew out on cross-examination, they were conducting a criminal investigation. 2 police officers were talking to him. The traffic was closed off at this point. Mr. Batchelor is there. It is fair to say that he did not think he was free to leave because he wasn't. And so he should have been subjected to Miranda under People versus Kelly, which says that.
So as it relates to your argument, the street is blocked off, nobody is there but the defendant, this car, and the police officer.
I didn't say nobody else was there,
You did
Your
say that,
Honor.
I just heard.
I said that the traffic was blocked off.
Well, okay, traffic blocked off. I haven't heard any testimony about anybody being there aside from your client. So I'm thinking, even if I was to suppress the alleged statement that he gave saying that he was the driver of the vehicle, that I make a rational inference based on the totality of the circumstances. Him being at the scene of the accident, he stayed there under this condition that the officer testified that he's under, that he was in fact the driver of the vehicle.
Is that a question, Your Honor?
I think I can. Might have been rhetorical. I think I can. But I'm siding with you in that the officer And I'm not sure what the heck this officer was thinking about. Maybe that's why he's not with DPD. I don't know, but in this pertinent facts in this police report, he did Mirandize the defendant after putting him in custody and then interrogating him. He made mistake after mistake after mistake. So even if I throw out the alleged statements that your client made, I think we still have enough to say that your client, based on the totality of the circumstances, may have been the driver of this vehicle.
Understood, Your Honor, and I would like to address some of that testimony, if I may.
Okay.
So as Officer Branch testified, he said that this was possibly his first OWI investigation. It was very early on in that. And I think that's relevant, Your Honor, because it goes to whether or not he was able to detect certain indicia of impairment here in order to
I
reach
don't
a
think you
certain
have to be a
conclusion.
police officer to do that. I can tell when somebody's drunk. I have to serve one young force.
That's true, Your Honor, but I guess it was the same question the court asked, and why was that not noted? It wasn't.
Rookie mistake.
He also said he had no independent recollection.
Either it's a rookie mistake or he's lying, one of the two. Either or, you're still talking about the same thing. I'm suppressing the alleged statement that he gave. But even absent that, even if the statement is suppressed, doesn't mean the case is dismissed.
Understood, Judge. Understood. I would like to address the admissibility of the data master, if that is all right, just to make a record. I understand your but I renew my objection of the admissibility of the data master BAC report. And this is relevant because the BAC is another element of just
So that goes as to what weight the court should attribute, not its admissibility.
Respectfully, Your Honor, I disagree as to weight and not admissibility. People versus Krulikowski, and I'm happy to give the citation as well, outlines foundational requirements for admissibility when it comes to scientific tests. So it's not to the weight, it's to whether or not it can be admitted. And
Is this
here,
the only test that we have that we're dealing with? Was
the only test,
The data master is that the only,
scientific test, yes.
so we don't have anything else?
Not that's been admitted into evidence right now, Your Honor.
And people, you can see that this test is no longer in use by DPD because of this.
I'm not willing to see that, Judge. There's been no testimony as to that, only defense's questions.
The officer testified that it's not being used by DPD.
Judge, again, the witness also testified that he is the one who maintains these things. He doesn't do the logs that defense is.
I get that, but that was the question. The question was, is it maintained? Was it used by DPD anymore? He said no.
Judge, I have no personal knowledge of that. I can't say.
Your Honor would like to revisit that testimony, and he did say that he was aware that there was an investigation over inaccurate test results. He said he also was aware that this specific model, the Data Master DMT, was removed from DDC, where this test was administered around the same time frame, 2020 to 2021. I do believe that's relevant. While I do concede that there were some elements of the foundational test that were met under Krulikowski, the important thing we didn't get today, Your Honor, was reliability. And this officer testified that he could not speak as to whether or not the machine was actively tested for accuracy before the test was administered. Calibration, that's a different story, although he admitted that he relies on the machine to tell him what to do. I won't go down that path, but I would like to say that he knows that it has to be accurate, tested for accuracy. He could not say when, and the prosecution has not brought that witness to say this was tested accurately within the week time period that it's supposed to be. So I object to the admissibility of those test results, since those are the only test results that show VAC, and that is an essential element of this charge. Finally, Your Honor, very briefly, I would like to address proximate cause. If the court, for some reason, does allow these statements to come in from Mr. Batchelor, I think it's relevant that there was no crosswalk seen in that video. The officer who testified on the stand today said he can't speak as to whether there was a pedestrian that crossed, and I understand there's a question of fact. I did want to make a record of that.
Not only that, I mean, the client is allegedly operating a motor vehicle over 3 times the amount alcohol is supposed to be in the system,
Allegedly, Your Honor.
and he's driving without a license. Shouldn't have been on the roadway to begin with. Hits and kills a pedestrian. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is his third offense felony. Or is that operating while intoxicated 3 times?
That the records were part of the exhibits, Your Honor. But what we're talking about here, again, is the testimony about whether or not there was a crosswalk. I just want to highlight that as well. There's also no testimony as to whether my
What I'm
client
saying
was
is, I don't
speeding.
think we have an issue of proximate cause.
Understood, Your Honor.
But not for the defendant driving in the first place, let alone driving for the 3rd time under the influence. This would have never happened.
There was also no testimony that my client was speeding, Your Honor. He was traveling at 38 miles per hour. It was also, based on the testimony, very dark in this area, but I understand where you're going, Your Honor. But for all of the reasons I cited beforehand, defense objects to the finding.
So people, you have no blood draws, anything like that. The only thing you have is this thing that, and I do recall there being an issue with this data master test and it being abandoned by DPD as well as other departments. That's the only thing that we have that measures the blood alcohol content of the thing.
The data master test in this case, yes, Judge. I would note to the court that there has been no testimony as to any, as it relates to sort of the effect of this supposed change from the data master to another system. Your Honor might have knowledge over news articles. Those aren't taken as judicial notice. We're dealing with probable cause. We're also dealing with more than triple the legal limit. I think, Judge, if I came here today,
If it's accurate,
if I came
it's
to
our argument.
well, Judge, if it's reliable enough and probable cause, that's I think the question before the court. I think if we have a close call of 0.08, even 0.09, no signs of intoxication, no accident, maybe defendant breaks even in a CDR. But every single sign shows that he's intoxicated. We don't look at the data master in a vacuum. I think we look at it in conjunction with all the other evidence. Every piece of evidence shows that the defendant was intoxicated on that day in question and is bolstered by the data master test. Again, more than triple the legal limit. I think if I came to the court and said 0.09, there's this data master issue, I could see the court saying, I don't believe he's over the legal limit. I don't think this is reliable enough to say between 0.02 on the BAC. I think the court could reasonably find that. But to say that the data master is so wholly inaccurate that it shows more than triple the legal limit, that I think isn't a reasonable conclusion based on the evidence. And I would like to say one thing, defense has harped a lot on this statement. She confuses the legal standards for what triggers Miranda. Free to leave is not the standard. Arrest is the standard for Miranda. Every traffic stop, an individual is not free to leave the scene, yet Miranda warnings are not triggered. Members of the 36th District Court have ruled in that way before, and the Court of Appeals has repeatedly overturned those and remanded with instructions to bind over, but admittedly not this court. But reasonable suspicion stops, which are the standard, a reasonable person would not feel free to leave, does not trigger Miranda warnings. It's formal arrest.
Let me have you guys approach for a second. So. So, I think it's an issue.
I this is an issue I couple. There's some issues. This is not this case. So not this issue. Potentially otherwise, so it's anticipation. Swallow the results. The study is best addressed within that tree. Judge, I'll just say that this is examinations, how will that work, which is shows the presence of narcotics. It's reliable, respected, what you do. This is the post call. This is a, I believe wrong travel. Every piece of it shows.
Okay, we had a spirited sidebar discussion. Let me commend both attorneys. You guys both did a very fine job. This court, in looking at the totality of the circumstances, I am satisfied that the burden of probable cause as relates to the charges contained in complaint one. I fully understand defense counsel's argument about the reliability of this data master machine, but taking that in conjunction with all the other surrounding circumstances in this case, the improper lane of travel, the non-braking that the CDR indicated, alleged behavior of the defendant at the scene, the observations of him and the like, all point to the fact that he was most likely intoxicated at the time. So the court is satisfied that people have met their burden of probable cause as it relates to the charges contained in complaint one. The court finds those charges were committed in the city of Detroit. The court finds probable cause to believe this defendant committed. Now, I must say that when I looked at these charges, and then when I heard what the alleged blood alcohol content was, 3 times over the legal limit, over 3 times over the legal limit. And I looked at his bond, and his bond shows $200,000 personal. And I don't even see a tether attached to this. You see on the tether? Not even an alcohol tether?
No, Judge, I was gonna address that with the court today.
Your Honor, if I may. I don't believe that's necessary, Your Honor. First of all, I would like to address the fact that this case is from 2021, it was 3 years ago. Based on the records that I have before me, Mr. Batchelor has not committed any other alleged driving offenses in the interim between 2021 and 2020.
That doesn't mean it didn't happen, just means it didn't get caught, right?
But that's what we have evidence of, Your Honor. That's what we can rely on.
Well, the evidence I have is that this is his 3rd offense notice. Drunk driving, and this time around, someone died. That's a problem. If he was to walk out those doors and decide to drink and get behind the wheel again and hurt somebody else or hurt himself, what do you think everybody's gonna be looking at? This was this guy's 4th drunk driving. What are they doing down there in 36th District Court? No, not gonna happen. Quite frankly, he should be in jail if these allegations are true. But at a bare minimum, he should be on an alcohol test. So this court is going to place the defendant on an alcohol test. I'll continue on with an alcohol test. His arraignment on the information date is going to be August 8th, 2024 at 9:00 a.m.
Judge, is that an in-custody tether or out of custody?
In custody.
In custody?
Yes.
1, 2. You would give brother and friend of them. All right, follow me. No, see, I'll be there with you. Ain't gonna stop one. No, you're not. It'll probably be about 5 days, up to 10 days, probably.
It takes 5 days to put on the alcohol.
For the tethers. Lately, it's been taking up to 5 days, sometimes 10 to get the tether. It's so back up. But he might get lucky.
Yeah. I don't think that's actually mine there.
It's not doing.
They're just copies. Yeah, those are copies that I gave the court.
You have some copies there.
Good afternoon.
Where are both of you guys from? Where you been? How long have you been practicing?
About since September.
Really? Outstanding. How about you?
December of 21.
You guys are very, very good.
Thank you.
Both of you. Very good. Very
You
good.
learn quick when you come up from COVID times. James. Yeah. Yeah, that was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you heard that? Oh, thank you.
You did very, very well.
Thanks, Judge. I have work cut out from the other leap here, though.
No, you didn't.
Judge, enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend.
Thank you as well.
It's AOR, it was on the 8th, right?
Yes.
And you had a 200,000 person?
Yeah. Another, all right, have a good day, thank you. Well, that concludes the docket for today, folks. Hope to see you tomorrow, same bat station, same bat time. Have a good evening.